So we tried to live a normal life again, and it nearly broke us. And in fact, I think it did at one point, but it really is a journey that we have been on. We felt something shift when we had our farm. There was this deep connection to the animals, to the rhythm of the seasons, to the land. And even though we had to leave it, that feeling kind of stayed with us as we left. Now we live in a small village here in the UK, and we're surrounded by shops and the cities and the usual things. We're not 20 minutes out from whatever we need, but nothing close really felt right. We tried to go back to growing food, um, and we weren't quite sure where to start. And then we were moving, and we moved here, and we've got the garden, and we were gearing up. We're like, great, growing food is what is important to us. We want to grow our own food. We want to eat locally. And if you watched our last video, you would have seen how local farm shops aren't necessarily local food. So we found a few good resources in the surrounding area, but they're all within like that 30-minute to an hour distance. And we want to kind of bring that in a little bit. And go back to eating seasonally and all that. So we were relaunching ourselves as Oak and Acre, and that being we're on a quarter acre here, and we have an oak tree in the backyard. And that dream was to start with microgreens. It's something we were familiar with. We knew it can sell well, and we knew how to grow it easily, and something that we could turn around into a profit in just a matter of a few weeks. So we were starting with microgreens, and then we wanted to take the profits that we get from that to help fund our own garden to teach growing your own food and living and eating sustainably. However, through doing that, we also wanted to expand that and do a patchwork farm and help our own neighborhood grow and have this vegetable hub or food hub as we partner up with other suppliers for things like meat and eggs. Um, that was the goal, but life does what life does, and it threw us into something else. We've ended up helping our family with their business, which we don't regret at all, but we're happy to help. There's just this call for something deeper and more meaningful and more purposeful. And we've been searching it and looking for it over the last few months and really trying to nail down what that means for us. Over the years since we started the farm in Canada as a vegan farm, because we were vegan at the time, and then going through that journey of realizing a lot of our issues were based off of that wonderful vegan diet, that we have gone to the flip side of carnivore. But there's this nice middle ground of when we've been researching and learning, and that's more primitive, more primal, and more soulful and fulfilling. And we've been researching for years these food systems and movement for the body and primal biology and what humans are actually built to do, how we're designed to digest food and how we're designed to move. Many of you may disagree with things that I say moving forward, and many of you may agree. So, we're all entitled to our own opinions. We've all learned the own way, but I'm here to hopefully open your mind to another way of living. And we've known this for a long time on what works, but the problem is convenience and the modern world really sucks you back in quite easily. And we have tried to really find what that path looks like for us, especially for me. Through this journey, I have found what foods I can eat and can't eat, what flares up my arthritis, what gives my body pain, what my body feels good on, what it doesn't feel good on. And I've learned those ups and downs. I'm still overweight and I still have weight to lose, but this isn't a lifestyle that I have created and put together and formulated with my husband so that I can lose weight. That's not the goal. It's to live a better, fulfilling life with a purpose. And when we looked at how we're going to restart this, we thought, well, the microgreens are an easy money maker, but we don't believe in microgreens. There's no earth benefit to seeding 1,000 broccoli seeds to slice them off and eat them, because they're so much more intense in nutrients than the whole broccoli. And honestly, there's so much misinformation there and just a way to sell things. I mean, they're tasty, they go good on a burger or on a salad, and we used to eat tons of them, but we don't believe in them the way we used to before. I still think if somebody really believes in microgreens, it's a great business. And we're happy to help coach through how to do that, as we had it as a business in Canada before we moved to our farm. But for us, it just didn't feel like the right path. And the right path for us is to live more seasonally local, grown as close to our house as possible, raised as close to our house as possible, when it comes to food, and then getting more into our primal movements and way of living without coming across like a hippie, because that's not that's not the vibe we're going for. There's this line, you start going down this pathway and you end up verging into what we would call the hippie kind of way. You know, you're free flowing, you're smoking some things, and you're living on the land and being in abundance and being carefree and doing all that wonderful stuff. And that's a great way to live. It's not us. And then there's the flip side of that, which is the more hardcore carnivore, primal, you know, do calisthenics, climb 19 trees, and get totally jacked and go down that route. And that is also not us. And you may even take a verge and go down the conspiracy route and the extreme preppers and off-gridders. And we don't really fall into that category either. So we're more the light carnivore keto with homesteading, with nature's rhythms. And I find it hard to explain because we're just really putting it together and there's not a name for it. And we just basically call it the primal way or the ancestral life, or a life, or as I've called it on our website, a life rooted in purpose. We're not here to be super spiritual. We're not here to be super food focused. It's about an all in one lifestyle. Kind of returning to these things. And we've learned a lot from others. I've watched a lot of people who speak beautifully on the food aspect or the movement aspect or the health aspect of all this. And I'm sure you've seen them too if you're here. But we couldn't really find anyone who was really putting it all together as a full lifestyle makeover. For us as a family, we've decided that that's the path we want to go down, because you can't have the nice clear food and clean eating, seasonal abundance, grow your own food, feed your neighbor, and all that lot without knowing what you should be eating. And then from there, you just eating the great food is wonderful. It's a great step, but you need the movement and the connection to the earth. So then how do we do that? And then through that, if we go back to Paleolithic times where we lived with those primates and those, well, not primates, but we lived more primal, and we moved and we hunted and we gathered and we had fires and we had community and we lived well. You can't go back to that without acknowledging that we now live in a modern world. And so many people try to push this Viking movement or this really raw, rough persona online. And it's great, but it doesn't give a full story. So if you want to go down that more primal, then we need to be able to connect the primal and the food with today's living. So what can we take from today, from the past, and from our food and put it together to really be this beautiful life? And it just ties right back into our community kind of garden and food and farm shop and like community living and working on the land. And it just brings and ties that all together beautifully. And within all those aspects, we have what I call Anima Mundi, which is the world's Earth's spirit as such. And I myself follow more of a Christian path, but I find that God is in a lot of different things. He's not just this man in the sky that we talk to, he's in the air, he's in us, he's in the earth, he's in the trees, he's everywhere. And whether you believe that's a he, that's a she, whatever religion you believe in, there are so many things I have found from all these different belief systems that really tie in and tell a single story of being one with the earth. I don't know, unless there's a religion out there that's anti-earth and wants to move to Mars, which is also possible. I mean, Scientology is a thing. But, there's this underlining theme across all of them. And I've just been really kind of digging and cracking onto that edge. And it's something I'm also going to be sharing through this journey as well for those who might be interested. You don't have to be religious. It's not a very heavy religious aspect that we are taking on here. It's just about faith and community and that feeling of being connected to the earth and being one with that. Like it's just something you really feel. Every farmer will say this, but when you are on that land and you are doing that, you just get this overwhelming kind of, this is where I'm supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing. We're shepherds of the land. We're a species of people who are designed to tend to the land and manage the animals and manage the forests. And we're not doing a good job of that anymore. And we need to kind of go back to that. And it's hard to do when you live in a society where the government wants money every 5 minutes for something and everything that you may be thinking. But I believe we've got a nice little pathway through, and I want to take you on that journey with us as we embark on that and really kind of find our way. There's no detoxing here. There might be a challenge or two, maybe. And it's not about just nostalgia and wishing we were in the past and we're born in the wrong era or anything like that. It's about reclaiming that rawness that is part of us and deep within our core that continues to call us. So if you're here and you feel it too, whether it's curiosity or hunger or something in your bones whispering, this isn't right, and you're not alone. We're building this slowly, season by season, and taking you along with us and sharing it as we go. We're learning at the same time. So we invite you to learn with us and hopefully make these changes in your life in some way as well. So if this speaks to something in you, please follow along, leave a comment, ask a question. Would love to know if this resonates with you. We're here to walk this path with you. And yeah, thanks for being here, and see you in the next video.